Hello, welcome once again to Lehto's Law. I'm Steve Lehto. Today we're talking about one of those funny law arguments. I did a video not too long ago about how there's this crazy notion, it's an urban legend, that in Michigan women have got to get the permission of their husbands before they get their haircut. And it's not true. And there's no such law that says that. And so because of the fact that that urban legend won't die, I put up a video entitled something like Woman Haircut Michigan, specifically so that my video would become the one that people would find when they look for information on that to discover, in fact, that it's not true. So someone passed along another one to me recently and said, hey, Steve, did you know that in Michigan, there's no law requiring you to actually name your baby? If you have a baby, you do not have to name it at all if you choose not to. You can simply choose to have your child go through life with no name. And I thought that's an unusual argument. I've never even heard that before. And they sent me a link to a video, and the video sent me to an article, and the article sent me to a law review article. And what's interesting is there is something odd about the Michigan law on birth certificates, but it does not say that you can get away without naming your child at all. And I'm a little surprised because there's actually a law review article that got published by a law professor in California, and it's got a mistake in it. And, it's the kind of mistake that you're going to hear and you're going to say, well, Steve, that's just something an attorney would call a mistake. But the point is, I'm an attorney and so is the guy who wrote the article, so I have the right to call him out on it. But what we're talking about here is whether or not you can just choose not to name your child. So let's assume these facts. You're in Michigan and you are part of a couple, husband and wife, we shall presume. We're going to use the prototypical arrangement, but I understand there could be different things nowadays. But a husband and a wife who've been married several years. And the wife goes into the hospital and she gives birth to a healthy child. Okay? Now, everyone knows that traditionally what you'd do is you'd say, oh, we shall name the child and we shall then, announce to the world we have a child and here is the child's name. And here's some photographs of the child, which we'll now put all over Facebook. Every single day for the rest of our lives, there'll be photographs of this child. So the question is, does the law require you to name the child? Okay? And according to an article that I found on thelist.com, it says that Connecticut and Michigan do not require you to name your children. And I'm going to read now. If you were to deliver your baby in the state of Connecticut, you would not be required to give your child a name, period. It may sound pretty unbelievable, but according to research presented by George Washington Law Review, Connecticut does not require a name to be entered on the birth certificate, period. As odd as that may be, Connecticut is not the only state that does this. According to Kay Bertrow, a research assistant from the Michigan Department of Community Health, a division for vital records and health data, quote, a child does not have to be given a name at all, unquote, in Michigan. So that quote is taken from an email sent to somebody who's working on a law review article that got published by the George Washington Law Review. And now that article is written by a guy named Carlton Larson. And the name of the article is Naming Baby, the Constitutional Dimensions of Parental Naming Rights. And he goes off, and it's a fascinating article. He talks all about whether you can give your kid a crazy name. Are there illegal names? What if you want to name your kid something foul? But I poked through his article and I actually found a reference to Michigan. And he says, for example, Michigan's statutory law does not explicitly require that a child's given name be included on the birth certificate. And indeed, a Michigan official has stated that, quote, a child does not have to be given a name at all, unquote, for which he then sends you to an email from Kay Bertrow from the Michigan Department of Community Health that was written to Craig Baumgartner, a research assistant to Professor Carlton Larson in 2008. And that email's on file with the author. So we'll assume that email actually got sent. Okay? Now here's the question. When you're trying to figure out what a law says, do you send an email to a department in Lansing and say, what do you guys think of this? Or would you go look the law up? Because you understand that emails are written by people. And I don't know if Kay Bertrow is an attorney or a judge or anybody with any legal ability to explain what the law says. But we could just go look at the law. And the law is, and I'll tell you that Professor Larson does in fact cite the law at Michigan Compiled Laws 333.2824. And that, again, is from the books behind me, but I have a copy here because I hate to pull the books off the shelf because it upsets my viewers with OCD, and I've got a lot of those. But there is a section of Michigan's Public Health Code that talks about birth certificates and what gets put on a birth certificate by law. Registering name of husband as father, registering surname of child, consent, acknowledgement of parentage. This is the title of this section. But section 2824, the part that matters, it says, the name of the husband at the time of conception, or, if none, the husband at birth, shall be registered as the father of the child. Period. Next sentence. The surname of the child shall be registered as designated by the child's parents. Period. And no other reference is made to the name of the child. The first name or the given name or the Christian name. I've heard it called that also. But, my name is Steve Lehto. You might guess that my birth certificate name is actually Stephen with a V, middle name Lehto. And I have a middle name, but we won't go there. But the point is that many people, the tradition, at least in America for many, many years, was 3 names. First name, middle name, last name. Okay? But here's the problem. The word surname, as used in the statute, surname is the last name or the family name. So my surname is Lehto. Okay? And I've talked before how Lehto is a Finnish name, speak of the devil. And it used to be much longer with my ancestors, but it got shortened along the way. But the surname is the family name. So the statement that a child does not have to be given a name at all, period, is not true. They must be given a surname because the surname of the child shall be registered as designated by the child's parents. So you could theoretically, in Michigan, if you are the couple I talked about earlier, the hypothetical couple, and you give birth, and you want to abide by the law, you can put on the birth certificate the child's name is and put in the last name and leave the rest out. The law doesn't apparently require a first name or a middle name, but it does require a surname. Otherwise, how could you put the surname of the child and register it without giving the child the surname? And there are a couple other references in here to the surname because, for instance, if the mother says, I'm unmarried and I do not know who the father is, she can then, of her own volition, give the child her surname and not have to consult anybody on it. And as you might imagine, in this day and age, there are couples out there where the wife and the husband keep their own names. And then the question then becomes, what will be the surname, the last name of the child who just got born? And they might decide to give it the surname of one parent or the surname of the other parent, or hyphenate it and give them both surnames, which now means that the child has a different surname than the parents. So in other words, one parent's name is Johnson, the other parent's name is Smith, and the child's surname could be Johnson-Smith. Okay? It's interesting, but that's what could happen. But again, the surname of the child shall be registered as designated by the child's parents. So the law requires the birth certificate to contain the surname of the child. Now, I have to imagine that the people who drafted this statute, and by the way, the statute's not that old. It was actually enacted in 1978, which means it's not that old as far as laws go. I can show you laws that were enacted in the 1830s in Michigan. We became a state in 1837. Or so I've been told. I wasn't there. But the point is that the article claims if you were to deliver a baby in the state of Connecticut, you don't have to give your child a name, period. And then Connecticut's not the only state that does this. According to Kay Bertrow, a research assistant from Michigan Department of Community Health, a child does not have to be given a name at all. Well, no, they have to be given a name. It's just not the complete name you're thinking. And that's simply because I suspect that this is the kind of typographical oversight that nobody caught. They probably didn't mean to say the child's name, surname shall be registered. They probably meant the child's name shall be registered. But it doesn't matter. The point is that we have to go by the law as written, and surname literally means the last name or the family name. So the idea that Michigan statutory law does not explicitly require that a child's given name be included. That's true. Given name, meaning that's the first name. And then it goes, and indeed a Michigan official has stated, and then they make the leap to no name at all. And if in fact a person at Michigan's Department of Community Health actually said that, they're wrong. And I'm kind of surprised, again, Carlton Larson, to have written this. All he had to do was read the statute and see, oh, a surname is required, but not a given name. So can you leave it blank on a birth certificate in Michigan where it says, what's the name of the child? No, you can't. But you can get away with, if you want to, simply putting the family name, the surname, the last name, what do you want to call it? You can do that. So the child will get a name, but not necessarily the longer one with the first, the middle, and the last. So again, I know it's a minor distinction, but I have to point it out because I'm a lawyer. That's what I do. So that's the story with baby names in Michigan. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.